We can say nothing or we can say everything we want. I've already started, by the way.
Ah, right. I have now hit the button as well. Fucking hell, man. It's not started well at all. But
It started better than last week. We actually did it.
right, well the music's about to start, so shut your face this time, right?
Roll credits.
Boom, bam. What a tune. One thing we will need to start with this week is actually saying our names, because the first episode, neither of us said who we were. So, my name is Craig Jemison.
I'm Gary Gordon.
We don't know what we're doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Going real well so far. Welcome to episode 2 if you're listening. Thank you to everybody that listened to episode 1. We had a lot of very nice comments come back from it. People that actually listened to it enjoyed it, which was really cool. We had a lot of
the response was sick. The feedback was mwah, chef's kiss.
Mwah. Chef's kiss.
Mwah.
Asterisk chef's kiss. It was, yeah, it's Dino. Like, we've definitely hit a nice little I think we're gonna find our rhythm with trying to be as light and comical as we can be, but also, like, I think people enjoyed the fact that we did actually talk about some pretty heavy shit last week. Like, that stuff was,
Yeah.
I feel like we were kind of deep diving into your history, but then also it was talking about some awful stuff that we're still having to deal with to this day with the pandy. But
With a pandy.
yeah, it's been really nice having that reception. I hope people keep enjoying it. Hope we keep doing all right. And I think I would like to get to a point where if the numbers kind of start going up and we get that kind of reception, that we start including people in the conversation, we'll open it up, maybe even start a Twitter or something, and it can let people send in questions or ideas for topics that they would like us to discuss if we have, brains that people want to listen to and words that people want to listen to. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think a lot of people actually want to get involved with the conversation. That's kind of what people have been saying to me. Is like, which was quite nice. I didn't expect people to say that. They were like, "Oh, it's just like a conversation you want to be a part of," and I was like, "Oh, fucking tough shit. Like, see you later on. This is my podcast. Shut up."
This is our time to bond. It's not like we've had fucking 11 years to build a beautiful friendship, and now we're just taking it to that next level, man.
We're either going to take it to the next level or we're going to destroy it completely. But if we destroy it completely, we might end up millionaires. So,
We destroy it completely. At least we'll have some like really nice content to put out onto the internet.
Onto the webs.
Onto the webs. Right. Well, I've not got anything in particular that I was going to jump onto today. I know last week we are open.
Last week you blindsided me, and this week my guard is completely up, so I'm ready. Like, come on, I'm shut down. Defenses are up. I got you.
Nah, I don't want that. I want you to talk to me. I mean, the one thing that actually did pop up that I wanted you to elaborate on was you're guilty for sending me some of the most grotesque but wonderful pictures of different things like buckets of body fluid that you found on the internet, or just stuff about horses that I really shouldn't know. But the one that will always stick out in my mind that you sent me a couple of weeks ago was the picture of what I've started calling Bert in my house, which was your abnormally long grey belly hair that you found.
Oh my! It fell out that same day. Like, yeah, I can't find it. It's gone. Yeah. Gonzo. How long's it been there, Like,
yeah, there's a serious mystery around this long hair. So for people that don't know, for people that haven't seen Gary's gorgeous body, you're a fairly hairy man. You've got a nice hairy belly on you, but just randomly one day when I was just sitting eating my lunch, I got a picture from Gary and he was holding out this long ass silverback gorilla hair. There is no explanation of it. It's like a proper Scooby-Doo mystery.
Man, we discovered it in real time. If like like I had just found it, and I was like, somebody needs to know. So I sent it to you, and I was like, yep.
Absolutely honoured that I was the person that was subject to that. But I mean, I still have the picture, so you never know the rest of the internet might be subject to it, because I'll just make it the image for this fucking episode.
Yeah, I've got the picture as well. It got some real fond memories attached to it now. So that long 45 minutes that me and Bert were acquainted.
And then it just disappeared as mysteriously as it appeared.
Yeah, up and gone. Like,
Up
how
and
long
gone.
was it there? Because the rest of my hair isn't grey and not that long. Like, I'm getting there. The grey is coming. But
Oh,
that
you mean
hair...
the grey, not the length?
No. Why does it stop, though? You know, like, my leg hairs have been the same length forever, I think.
Yeah.
And same with the rest of the hair on my body. Like, why does it just stop?
Well, I don't think it does. I think it just slows. Like, you go through the acceleration during puberty, obviously. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've not hit it yet, as you can see from my facial hair. So I'm still not actually one with puberty yet.
It's looking good this week, though.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you, man.
Got
I
some
appreciate that.
real definition coming through on that goatee.
And that goatee, that's all that grows. I've got no hair on my body. I think I have about 3 nipple hairs, and that's about it, to be honest. Yeah, I think when you go through puberty, it accelerates to a point, and then it does slow down. Because I mean, like, there's pictures of my granda of when he was younger, and he was fairly hairy. But like, see, by the time he was like in his 70s, that dude had like Robin Williams hands. That dude looked like a silverback. His hands were fucking
Just on the hands.
just on the hands.
Like baldy wrists.
It's like when guys get tattoos on just their hands, but then don't have anything anywhere else on their arm, and it just looks so out of place.
Yeah. This is such a weird conversation.
Yeah, but also, I'm enjoying it, so no problems here.
Well, as long as one of us is enjoying our time together, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, as long as there's a bit of laughter in me, then I'll just keep talking. I don't give a shit. But I mean, like, we've seen. I mean, we've been around. We've seen some guys with tattoos. We've seen some gals with tattoos, and there's some real bad ones out there, man. Like, some really fucking bad ones, and I am guilty for it. I have terrible ones. I think.
I got some bad ones.
But I think that's just like something you go through, isn't it? I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Sam I gave this advice to. I was like, dude, do not get, because Sam's considerably younger than us, and I always tend to forget that. But I remember saying to him, like, dude, don't get a tattoo before you're like 21. Because every tattoo I have got pre-21, I fucking hate it. Hate it.
I think as well, like when I first started getting tattooed, like 18, 19. Well, I got my first one when I was 16, going on 17.
Illegal.
Illegal. I got it done in Turkey.
Nice.
What
one is that?
Just the microphone on my arm. Like, I got other stuff added to it to make me not hate it as much.
Right.
But yeah, when I first got it, first red flag should have been the studio, quote unquote, was on site at the hotel. So like, you're sitting at the pool, and if you look to your right, you were just like, there's a guy getting tattooed. If you were sitting having your lunch, you look to the left, there's a guy getting tattooed. Like,
just
it was
on like
such a
on a sun lounger.
on a lounger,
with a
like
fucking
no
pina
real
colada.
bed. So I actually went on at my mum and dad for the whole 2 weeks we were in Turkey. I was like, go on,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
And then on like the last day, they were like, okay, cool. So I went. I said to him what I wanted. He like literally just brought up a picture on Google and traced it. I was like, cool, man. Ideal. So I'm sat there, like, so it's our last day of the holiday, so we're not like getting in the pool or any of that kind of stuff. We're just chilling. So I'm wearing like regular clothes, you know. It's the sweat's punching off me. It's Turkey. Obviously, it's hot.
Yeah.
So I'm sat there. We're like 20 minutes in. Let's say first tattoo. Didn't really know what was going on. I was in a world of hurt, and realized that I bleed a lot when I get tattooed, which is still a thing to this day. I still bleed
Really?
like quite heavily. Yeah.
Fuck.
So like 20 minutes in, half an hour in, this guy just goes, "Whoa, it's too hot," and I was like, "Yep." Like, thought he would have acclimatized by now, lived there his entire life.
Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, I'll be back in 10 minutes," and I was like, "All right, maybe he's gonna get a drink. Fair enough. Cool himself down." Gets to the door, takes off his t-shirt, jumps in the pool. And I'm just sat there, and I'm like, all right.
Just watching the guy do a few laps, some breaststroke,
Yeah, so-
butterfly.
So by this point, I've taken off my shirt because it's hot. I'm just like, just sat there like,
That's
blood pissing out my arm.
Yeah.
Sweaty, gross. I had longish hair at the time.
Yeah.
And,
You're just describing my sex dream last night.
Well, fair enough. And yeah, so Barish, his name was Barish, Baris. Hit him up
Right.
if you want some sick ties. He comes back, pats himself dry, which is nice.
Amazing.
Puts his gloves
Super.
back on. Yeah, puts his gloves back on. Doesn't put a t-shirt back on. And then continues to tattoo me. But the way I'm sat, like, my hand is now in his chest. And Barish, my boy, was he was a substantial fella, you know. There was quite a
Okay.
bit of him. So it wasn't the most comfortable time of my life. We also got mugged off as well. Like, I had to pay so much money for this tattoo. I remember, like, I got home and I said to like tattoo friends,
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I got this. Cost me this. It took this long." And he was like, "You got mugged." Like, obviously they saw us coming. Like,
Yeah, from a mile off.
Like, yeah, the pasty white guy with sunburn.
Yeah.
Mug him off. So, yeah, I got that tattoo. And then I had to sit on a plane. Like, I think Turkey's like 5 hours away, something like that, 4 or
Yeah.
5 hours away.
Yeah.
Just sweating on the plane. Uncomfortable. I didn't have time to like wash it or anything before we got on the plane.
Jesus.
So I just sat. It's cling filmed up. It's just gross. So I kept it like that for a couple of years, and it wasn't like I kind of realised that the shading was on probably the wrong side, like where it should be. So I got it like added to and all that kind of stuff. I don't hate it as much now, but I still definitely want to chop my arm off most days.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also want to
I
like
mean-
chop off my legs too. If I could skin myself, I would.
Oh man, no, your legs are some of the most picturesque things I have ever seen in my life. You have the most gorgeous pins.
Thanks, man. They are. My legs set the unattainable standards for the rest of my body. You know, like every day I look at my legs and I'm like, "Oh, I wish the rest of me would catch up. Like I have that potential, but it's just not happening. Or it's
It is,
slowly,
man.
slowly.
It is. You know it is.
But the legs were born this way, you know, like not born this way. That'd be so weird. Just came out with like these massive hairy legs, tiny body. Just
your mum went through
ridiculous.
some fucking hard times birthing you out with those big ass pins.
Well, I came out feet first, so it would have been a terrible time.
Those fucking big feet coming out. Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah, it all went wrong. I ended up getting cut out. It's fine. That's what it is.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm not gonna open that one up. That can be another time. I don't think I've got it in me to talk about that today.
Nah.
I'll write it down. I'll take a note for maybe
Write it
another
down.
time.
But anyway, like I
What-
was
what
saying,
was-
got some garbage tattoos when I was younger because I was making too much money in a job that I hated. I didn't have anything to spend money on, so I spent not bad tattoos. The tattoos are technically sound.
Yeah.
I look at them and go, "Oh, 28-year-old me would never get these."
Yeah. But that must be a thing that like most people think when they've got tattoos. You get to a certain point of you get to a certain age and you're just like, what the fuck was I thinking when I got this done?
I
Like,
know.
I mean, like, I have some tattoos that definitely need to be covered up due to white people being the fucking worst people alive. But I still think, like, the choices you make when you're young. I mean, that one wasn't even when I was young. That was pretty recently. But, like, the choices that you make when you're young, because I get my first one done. I think I was also 17 when I get my first one done. and it was definitely a choice. Do you remember the Glasgow band Asriel?
Of course I do.
Will of Fire. Loved that album when I was younger. Absolutely loved that album. And then I thought it'd be a good idea to get like the full like fucking paragraph of lyrics like right down my arm. So I had it all like drawn out myself and stuff, the whole fucking, so it would have taken up the entire space of my arm, and I only had enough money to do like the last line. Basically, so that's all I have on my wrist is like the last line of the full thing I'd written out. But in hindsight, I'm so fucking glad I was poor, because if I had got that whole thing up my arm, I may as well have just got Craig tattooed on my back.
Have you seen that photo? The guy just standing, like looking into the sun, like, and he's on the beach or something. He's like looking into the water, hands on his hips, fucking loud and proud, and on his back it just says Craig. It's actually amazing.
Oh man!
Oh
that
man!
could have been
What are the odds that you get that tattooed?
I mean, do I get to pick the font?
No, Old English.
Fuck. Right.
And I'll go halves.
You'll go halves.
Yeah.
Do I get to pick who's doing it at least?
Aye. Yeah, that's
right.
fine.
I'll go 8.
8.
8. I'll go 8. I'll go fucking very good odds. I'll go 8. Fuck it.
This is the win I need today. Come on, let's do this. Right,
who's
8.
counting down? Yeah, who's counting down?
I'll count.
Right.
You ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1, 6.
1.
Yes.
Imagine.
You live to fight another day.
Live to fight another day. That can maybe be like a standing thing that we do every week. Is we'll find out what are the odds to fuck each other up and just ruin each other's lives for it all of eternity.
A horrible one to start with.
I mean, horrible but also good fun. That would have been awful. And I'm pretty sure Emma would have left me. I think that would have been the final straw for her to just be like, cool, I'm out. Can't fucking do this anymore.
That would be the final straw?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. You must be walking on eggshells.
You've been around me for more than half an hour. So imagine having to live with it.
It's great. I would.
Oh, I'm so thankful. Go find a fucking 2-bedroom then, I'll just move in with you.
Perfect. Because finding a 1-bed was not stressful enough.
I'll make it so much easier for you. But, oh man. Yeah, tattoos is a weird one. Like, all of the tattoos that I have, like, I think I maybe like one of mine. It's not that I've got a lot, I don't really, but I think I genuinely like one of them. The rest of them I'm a bit like, either, oh, why did you do that, or I really shouldn't have done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
well, I had a pair of balls tattooed on my leg forever, didn't I? Like, if ever there was a tattoo you should not get, it's a hairy scrote on your ankle for life.
to go alongside your fucking straight edge tattoos.
Oh, don't even. That needs to go at some point. This is the thing. When I was younger, I was like, no, I'll never get a cover-up tattoo. I'll live with the mistakes that I've made. And I'm just like, nope, get them so far to fuck. I need them off my body right now. The balls was like the balls. I didn't even care about like what covered it up. Like I said to Duncan, I was just like, here. I don't care what goes here, just as long as it's not testicles. And he was like, "Oh, draw your big dick then." And I was like, "No, no, yeah, that'd be worse." But so no, he drew like a nice wee vase with a skull on it.
So you have actually covered the balls up?
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
I have no idea what's happening on your body, man. I don't see it enough. I actually didn't know that you had got those balls covered up, and I am now fucking heartbroken.
Oh man, yeah, I got them covered up when he did my knee, or one of my knees. He was just like, "I can right now if you want," and I was like, "Yep, perfect."
Unbelievable, man.
I've still got the YOLO tattoo though. I don't think that'll go anywhere.
You only live once, but you live with your fucking choices.
Yeah, you live with regret for the rest of your life. It's fine.
Oh, Christ.
It's funny, like, talking about, like, tattoos and stuff, it's the only time in my life that there's never been enough of my body, if you know what I mean. Like, you know, I've hated how I've looked forever. And I've always been like, oh, there's too much of me. I need to get rid of it. And then I start talking about tattoos, and I'm like, oh, God, the space is filling up. Like, where am I going to put this? There's too many good artists out there. Like, I want to get tattooed off all of them. But, well.
Yeah, there's only so much canvas you can fill, but you know you could just go over the balls. No, I mean not your actual fucking testicles attached to your body. I mean you've already went over one of the fucking.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm not
I don't
actually.
know, like
I'm not actually meaning fucking tattoo your actual
on my
fucking
testicles.
balls.
Jesus, can you imagine? Oh,
I don't want to imagine. I'm not going down that fucking road.
No, I don't want to imagine that at all. That'd be horrid.
Another thing that I always think about, what was that? I fucking already forgot what I was going to say. I actually had something in my head that I was going to say, and I've completely forgot it. That's good.
Oh, come on, backtrack. You can get there. You can get there. I believe in you. Oh, God, it must have been so shite if you can't remember. Oh,
it probably was. That's probably a very good point. We can move on. We'll just move on to something else because I don't think it is ever going to fucking come back now. I mean, one thing I would actually like to speak to you about is how is it that you are the most European man I have ever met in my life, and yet you live in Brighton. Like, see, every fucking picture you send me is of some fancy ass wine, and I just can't do it.
What do you mean you can't do it?
Like, your wine is so fancy.
Look, I just like the finer things in life. What is wrong with that? Nothing is the answer.
No, there isn't. I'm not going to change you for anything. But yeah, you enjoy the most European shit for a guy that doesn't live. I mean, technically, we no longer live in Europe. But you do.
We live in Europe. Europe is still a continent. We will still be part of that. We are just not part of the Blessed Union, you know. But to answer your question, the reason I am the way I am is because I grew up here and realized I didn't want to be like any of the people who live here.
That's fair.
It's also the way why I speak the way I speak. Like, I don't have the most Glaswegian accent. It's pretty neutral as far as they go. It comes out when I'm excited or angry, or, you know, like when I'm like animated, I'm like, all right, like it happens. But, and like, obviously, you just become like a kind of creature of your environment, I guess. Like, when I was younger, growing up, my mum and dad speak with very broad Glaswegian accents. My mum's lived in the East End for a lot of her life. My dad was like Townhead and in north of Glasgow. Right. Okay. So they have these really strong accents, and my granny on my mum's side, my wee granny, she would always shout at you if you like use slang around her. Oh, she would always like, if I was like, oh, I've got a really sore head, she'd like the words head, and I'm like, okay. Like that's just how she was, you know. She was quite a proper lady, you know. She never swore in her life unless she was like the most angry, and I never saw that, but I knew that she'd like thrown relatives out of her house for swearing. Nice. Like, oh yeah, she was feisty, you know. And like just growing up, like I guess I decided that I never really wanted to have like a super strong Glasgow accent. Not decided, like it's just a thing. I just pronounced every word the way that they're supposed to be pronounced. Yeah. And it made me sound like this. Yeah. So I guess that's a thing.
Yeah. So like you kind of rebelled against the environment you were brought up in, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. But instead of going off the rails like the punk rocker I am, I just decided to play by the rules, which is arguably more punk.
You went on the rails, is what you're trying
I
to
went
say.
on the rails.
You went on the rails.
Yep.
Because where you came up with, there aren't even rails.
No rails.
No rails.
No rails. But yeah, so I always like make the joke that I'm like the most West End, East End guy, you know, like
Yeah.
got my working class sensibilities, but really like a nice fucking, you know, like fucking Sauvignon Blanc is what it is.
I honestly don't even know what that means. Like I came up in like a fairly well off place. Like I came up, I think I'm like south east. I'm not
You
even
came
that
up
sure.
in the burbs. Yeah.
Yeah, proper burbs. Like ours was like, it was far enough away from the city to not be the city, but it's not quite like a farming town. But it has like a small villagey vibe about it. Has that same like weird, like wee town mindset with a lot of people. I fucking hated it. I could.
Did
not
your mum
wait
and
to
dad
get out.
always stay in the same place, like the house that
No.
I'd been to?
No. My
Because that was a nice house in a nice
Yeah.
area.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely came up in a nice wee bit, but I think that's what drove me to wanting to live actually like in the city, like where we are just now in the south side. Like this is where we want to come up because we're both from like relatively kind of close to the centre of, like I was close to Glasgow, Emma was relatively close to Glasgow as well, so it was like we weren't too far out that it was properly like proper bumpkin vibes or anything, but
Yeah.
and I think that's what drove us to wanting to live close to the city, because we just hated the small town mindset that, especially where I came up, that had. I hated that like wee village, this is where we born and bred type mindset that comes with where I'm from. I couldn't stand it, to be honest, and props to the people that I came up, like a lot of them have started building their families there and stuff, and like they obviously fucking loved it there, but there was just something about staying in a place where I grew up, and I didn't exactly have like amazingly fond memories that would keep me attached to it, that would keep me attached to where I came up. So kind of bouncing about in different places, because I mean, after I moved out, I think I've lived in like 7 or 8 different fucking flats and houses since I moved out my mum and dad's house. Do you know what I mean? Like I've
been all over.
I've hopped around a lot, especially in Glasgow and kind of just around it. But my mum came up in like the kind of next town over, and my dad came up in Paisley.
Yeah.
So they kind of knew where they were, but now they moved to where I was born just before I was born. But they lived somewhere else with my brother. But that was more like farming village that they lived in before they moved to Neilson, kind of thing. But we actually, a couple of years ago, just after our first was born, we actually moved back to where I'm from, and we made it 3 months.
Yeah,
and
it
we
was
were
such a brief stint that you were away.
Yeah, we made it 3 months and just went, we can't do this.
Did we come out to that house?
I don't. Oh wait,
I think
Yeah,
we
you
did.
did.
Was it not like
One time.
Halloween or something? And we were
Yeah.
meant to watch like a scary movie.
and we ended
We
up
watched like
watching.
The Leprechaun or something.
No, we
That wasn't
watched-
The Leprechaun.
What was that film that we watched? We watched the film that has fucking like Hackerman 3000 and shit in it. Oh, what is that film called? Do you remember what I'm talking about? That's gonna bug the fucking life out of me, man. We sat and watched
we
the
not-
dumbest film ever.
Did we not watch 2 films?
Probably.
Oh no! I know the one you thought it was Kung Fu something.
It'll come to me, man. That is driving me nuts. So we sat. Yeah. So you did see the inside of that house, but
Yeah.
we were not in it for long at all.
No.
And we ended up I think it was just being away from everything. Like you had a co-op and a set of traffic lights. That's all you really had. So
What more could you want? You know.
we just started going insane, man, and ended up moving back towards Glasgow. I'm trying to find this film. That's gonna drive me fucking nuts.
Episode 2, we already need a producer.
I know we are not doing this with any help. Everything that is being done here, all of the recording and stuff is all being done in-house. We do not know what we're doing, which is probably the fucking worst thing. We're just fucking figuring it out as we go along, man. I'm never going to find it, because I don't even know what I'm looking for. I'm like, martial art movie. I'll be there for fucking years trying to find it.
Yeah.
Do you know who would know? Sam would know. Sam would know off the top of his head what that film was we went to see. That dude has got the greatest memory. It's unbelievable how fucking good that guy's memory is. But
it was a film. It's a film called Kung Fury. Sorry, I've just
Kung Fury. That's what it was.
I literally just typed in Hacker Man. Why would you not do that?
That's the one. Fucking Kung Fury. Yes, we sat and watched. That is a weird film, but also incredible. It's like fucking 20 minutes or something. It's not even that long.
No, it's not long at all.
Oh, it's great, man. I need to see if that's actually still on Netflix. Sit and watch it. That's a lot of fun. I can't remember what I was saying about where I came up. Yeah,
how you didn't really enjoy being, like small town vibe. You wanted to be more in the city.
Yeah. I think being closer to things is more our speed, because like because we're like looking to move as well. We're looking to try and buy somewhere around here because we're renting just now. But every time we're looking, both our family, like from my side and Emma's side, they're always like, "Oh, you should look a wee bit further out." Like Emma's side, they're all saying, "Oh, you can get a front and back door, like a big nice house down here, for like the same price that you'd be paying for a flat up Burbs." And we're like,
which is true.
It is very true, but we don't want to do that. It's like we don't want to.
And it's also like a false economy as well, because you buy a bigger place in a smaller area, so you're getting more for your money. But then you've also got to factor in your travel costs, like to and from the city, whether or not you're actually going to be happy out there as well is another thing,
Yeah, it's like Emma quite often will look at houses where I'm from and be like, "Oh, look at this house is really nice," and then I'll turn around and be like, "Right, let me go and look at where you came up, and we'll go look at properties." It's that. Oh no, I don't want to do that. It is this. Yeah. We've just got that thing of like, just cannot go back to where we came up because we did everything to escape it. So now when our family's like, "Oh, but you can get a nicer, bigger house. You'd have a nice big garden for the kids," and it's like, do we really want to live in like the place that we tried our fucking hardest to escape,
to get away from?
Yeah, no, and then the thing that goes through my head as well is like, would my kids think the same thing? Would my kids go, "I cannot fucking wait to get out of here"?
Yeah, so like, that's the thing about bringing life into the world. Mm-hmm. We both came from good childhoods. We were comfortable and happy and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But we essentially still want to give our kids, your kids, not mine, because I don't have any. Like, we want to give them we want to give them a standard of life that we'd be happy with, to receive as a kid. Like, so you want to always like not do better, but you want to like give them. You want to give them the life that you wish you had a little bit, Like, you want to give them what you perceive as happiness, I guess. Yeah. Like you're wanting to give them the life of what you see comfortability and happiness is, and like trying to find that balance is really difficult, because like it's my way of always thinking about it is just like, I'm never going to know exactly what my kids want, because we're bringing them up and we're wanting them to come up as complete individuals. We're not bringing them up under any pressure to do things, pressure to be certain people, because that's just, you've seen that happen. I'm not saying that's what happened to me when I was brought up, but you've seen that happen to people that and you just see them start falling apart as they get older, because they're not striving to be that person that their parents have told them to be. Yeah. And so it's trying to find that balance of like, I want to guide them well, I want to support them well, but you need to not
or in my mind, I'm trying not to force ideals on them and force them to think certain ways because that's how I think.
There's a real fine line between being an overbearing parent and being too laid back. You know,
Yeah.
like it's really hard to find that kind of middle ground where your kid's going to grow up independent but still respect authority to some extent and make their own choices. You know, like my mum and dad when I was growing up, they were like, school's important, but it's not the end of the world if you don't get good grades because, you know, not that they didn't get good grades, but they had a happy life without going to university and all that kind of stuff. I never went to university. I went to college twice. And it first time round wasn't really for me, but that's because it was right after school and school really wasn't for me either.
Yeah.
Second time around it was hairdressing, and that's kind of, you know, became my life. So
yeah,
but it was never, they were never like pushy about it. They were never like, oh, you have to do this to like be happy and, you know, get a good job and all that kind of stuff. It was never that kind of conversation because like my mum was a seamstress for a long time, you know, and then worked in the schools, and like between them worked in like just retail jobs. My dad was a joiner for a long time, and that's kind of always what he did. Then he worked in a homeless shelter, and then he worked in the community centre where he's still working now. So he's never like, none of the jobs that they did required them to have like any sort of special qualifications other than like joinery for my dad. Like he just needed to be a time served apprentice. Yeah. So it was like the way that they looked at things was like, as long as you can find a skill. Yeah. You know, as long as you have a trade, which is again seemingly becoming more and more important for people to have skills or apprenticeships and all that kind of stuff, because you see it like all the time. People are looking for modern apprenticeships or whatever, because the quote unquote white collar jobs are, you know, like asking for 10 years fucking experience and all that kind of stuff. But then in the same like the same job description saying no formal experience required. Yeah. So I think people are kind of looking more towards trades and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I think that we will be the generation that really hammers that home, you know. Which is why, again, it's so important to kind of dance along that line. You know, you need to find the bit that makes sense for you, because everyone's line's going to be different, I guess. Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm still trying to find that line, if I'm being honest. I still don't know. Like I'm still developing a lot of stuff with like the work that I do, and everything that I know and what I do in my job has been completely self-taught. It's been completely through me putting time and energy into stuff. Like in my last place that I worked, they were kind enough to offer, or they weren't really kind. I'm not going to say they were kind enough to offer me. I chased and I fought for them to put me into, like, I don't know if it was a modern apprenticeship. It was a graduate apprenticeship, I think it was called. So they essentially like paid for me to go to university. Yeah. And I only managed to do 1 year because after the first year, the university actually cancelled the course, so I couldn't carry it on. Perfect. But everything that I have done has been through my being like, right, I think I'm good at this. I'll go and figure it out. But I still don't feel as though I have, like what you're saying there, I still don't feel as though I have like a skill that I can fall back on. You know, like it's really good having these things like you're saying, like doing the apprenticeship and getting these like core skills that will always be like, if something goes tits up with the job that you have, you've got those core skills that you can rely on. Yeah. All I can really rely on is my experience. Like I've been in the sector, or I've been in the kind of roles I've been in since I left high school. Like I got a job before I even left high school, and I was there for 6 years doing the same thing. So all I really have to fall back on is my experience. I don't particularly have like a specific set of skills, if I want to sound like Liam Neeson. I don't really have that. I'm kind of slipping by unnoticed, actually doing things okay, and people are kind of receptive of that and still keeping me employed. That's because you're employable, though. You know, like you've had 10 years of working experience, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I mean, like, we will be the generation to take that forward. Just now, our parents, and, like, even people who are a little bit older than us, like, it's kind of slipped past on them as well, because a lot of them have had to just get jobs to survive, which is fair, you know. We were definitely, I think, I was lucky enough to get a trade, as much as you might not have a trade. You've got relevant experience for the roles that you go into anyway. Like, the jobs that you've always looked at have always been kind of within the same sort of wheelhouse. So I think that's important to kind of put forward to your kids, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
yeah. I think, like, me and Emma have had these kind of similar conversations, and I think we're quite fortunate that we both are on kind of the same level of what we're wanting to kind of instill into the kids and how we're wanting to bring them up. We're very similar in how we view our parenting. Not that we're perfect parents, man. Like,
because who
like
is?
I could never say that I am. But the thing that's always in the back of my mind is I never want there to be a point further down the line. I mean, it'll happen. There's not really much I can do about it, but I want my kids to be able to reflect back on their childhood fondly, more than negatively. Because I mean, we all have that negativity of our childhood, and it's quite. I mean, it made me who I am. Like, certain things that happened when I was younger, and it still kind of impacts me to this day. Like, it still is on my mind quite a lot. And me and my mother have had some kind of good conversations about this, about how in those formative years, just how much that stuff stays with you, like, and how much it can impact you, and how you view things and how you interpret things. Like, the thing that the one thing that I noticed, like, this wasn't exactly a childhood thing, but just going on the thing of, like, something that happens that might not necessarily impact you at the time, but then something brings it up further down the line, and you realise, like, holy shit, that made it's made such an impact internally that will never really go away. Like, one of our friends went through something recently that kind of opened up something that I thought I'd, like, kind of dealt with and tucked away.
Yeah.
But then I was having a conversation with them about it, and just kind of talking them through it, because it was something that I'd experienced previously, and it was, I just remember I was just kind of texting them back and forth, and I just remember I properly burst into tears just texting about it. And I was speaking to Emma about it after it, and I was just like, I never realised how much at the time that had properly impacted me as a person, and how it's changed me going forward. And I honestly thought it was just like, oh, that happened, it was shit, whatever, we've moved on, it's fine. But then as soon as I started, like, opening up about it, because I was talking to somebody else about how I felt and what I went through, I fucking, like, broke down, just in fucking bits. Like, I was just, like, tears streaming down my face, and I was quite shocked, if I'm being honest, because I was like, I didn't realise how much this still affects me to this day. And I think that's quite similar to similar things that have happened in your childhood. Like, until you start unpacking it when you're older and you start thinking about it, you don't realise how much it still affects you, even in your day-to-day life.
No, we try to, like, I guess we live with our trauma, you know, like, more than anything else. You package it away, like you're saying, you try to ignore it, I guess. I know I'm definitely guilty of that. Like, there's parts of me that I have, like, packaged away, you know, like, nothing, like, super bad. I've actually been quite lucky in having a life that's been fairly normal. The only things that have kind of been packaged for me is when I was younger, I was, like, just a super angry young child, you know, which I am still, but grown up and able to deal with it better, you know, like, and when things start to, like, when things start to, like really, like, get on top of me, like, last couple of days have been super stressful. could feel it like building in my chest for days, you know, like, and rather than deal with it the way that I should deal with it, I let it get in the way, and I, I was like borderline panic attack for the last couple of days. I was like verge of tears, you know, but I would deal with that by lashing out, you know, when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I can see that coming to a point where I'm like, oh shit, fucking a drywall better watch out, you know, like, I'm coming for it. Yeah.
Carry-shaped hole.
Yeah, like, I mean, my childhood bedroom is like still covered in holes from when I was younger. There's a poster back there, that is still there because there is a hole in the door.
Fucking hell.
There is a poster on that door because there's still a hole on the door.
Jesus.
On the outside, it's been plastered up, kinda, and like stained with coffee, so it kinda matches the door. But like, it was a thing when I was younger, man. My knuckles were always a mess, you know, because I would always just punch something, you know. And that was nothing in my life happened to make me an angry child. It was just who I was, you know. I've always had a bit of a short fuse, but growing up, you learn to deal with it. So now you can see that in other people as well. Like you can start to see people like, oh shit, he's probably got some problems that need to be dealt with professionally, as we all do, you know. Like even now, like I still think I should probably go and get therapy, which is why I think you have started this podcast.
It's not. I promise, it's not.
This
I'm
is
not,
the beginning
you
of
tell
it.
me, anything you tell me is not in confidence because I don't know what I'm fucking doing. I'm not a professional. I don't have a certificate, so everything you say, I'm not liable for a fucking thing you say.
God, so I can't even sue you.
No, you don't
How
have
am
anything
I going to get
sue.
rich?
You don't
How
have
am I going to
anything
get rich?
You're not going to get rich from me, bro. Like I have fucking nothing.
God.
No, but that's I can relate to that coming up with my siblings. Like my brother in particular, fucking love the guy. Stupid big ginger bastard. I've not actually seen him in ages. Fucking love the guy. He was quite similar to that. He was a very angry kid. But what I've always kind of thought it was is like you know how horrible kids are when you're younger. My brother is a ginger-haired man. Came up as a ginger-haired man in the 90s. So people would pick on him just for being ginger. Yeah. So my brother very quickly learned how to fight people and kick their heads in. So it was almost like he had that way of dealing with his pent up anger and stuff, but it wasn't until somebody provoked it. Like I think that like me and my brother wrestled and stuff, but we never really got in a proper fight. The one that always sticks out is he threw a remote control at my head one time. For some reason that's always just stuck in my head. I can't remember why. I'm obviously just pissing him off too much. But that I think he had like the proper red rage when he was younger. Now he's like the most relaxed guy. You could never imagine my brother being in a fight. Like you've met him. You cut his hair.
No, I can't imagine your brother to raise his voice.
No, he's so laid back. He's so chilled out. But back in the day, when he was a young man coming up, he was quite similar in that way, where like playing fucking FIFA on his PlayStation 2. Like, I'd be in the room next to him, and I thought my wall was going to come in because he's going fucking berserk because somebody scored against him, you know?
Well, I guess that's kind of similar to me. Like, now that you think about it, you know, like, I grew up as a fat goth in Bridgeton. I got bullied, you know? Like, that was definitely a thing. And I don't think it was ever, like, it was never, like, mean bullying. No, it was. It was mean bullying. Obviously, it was bullying.
Yeah, all bullying is mean.
It was mean enough to make me angry and upset, and that's how I dealt with it, was by lashing out against things that I knew I could beat up, like the wall. You know,
because it can't fight back until it
can't
falls
fight
on top
back
of you.
against. Because also I'm still small. You know.
Yeah. You have a very low center of gravity, which makes you hard to like topple over. So in a fight, that's always good.
So when I went to end of primary school into first year of secondary school, I was still small. Hit puberty and I grew a little bit. And I was like, sick. I'm going to be one of the big boys, you know?
Yeah.
and then I stopped growing.
Yeah.
And everyone else didn't grow for a while, and I was like, yes, I'm the big boy, perfect.
Yeah.
So that was around the time when I started, like, finding music on my own and deciding that wearing eyeliner and painting my nails was a good idea.
Yeah.
Because I was the big boy, perfect. Give it maybe 6 weeks. Everyone else has like a head and shoulders on me. And I'm just like looking up at everyone, and I'm like, oh my God. And they all got athletic.
Yeah.
And like they
Rugby
got
players and shit.
strong.
Yeah.
And I stayed chubby. And I was like, oh. I thought the puppy fat was going to wear off by now. So that's when they got mean, because they went from like, not that I was mean to them when I was the quote unquote big one, I was riding high with my confidence, like chin was up always.
Yeah.
And then the tables got turned big time, and I was like, oh God, like head down, don't want to say anything just in case, like. So if it ever came to like fisticuffs, I was always going to end up with a black eye. Not that you would know, because I'd be wearing like a lot of makeup to cover it up anyway. I guess
that's probably a good question. Actually, is have you ever actually been in a proper fist fight?
Yeah. It didn't last very long.
How did it happen? What actually came of it? I personally have been punched a lot, but I've never been in an actual fisticuff where I have like properly fought back. I've been sucker punched. Is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah, there was a couple of times in like the gym changing room, like the classic cliche place for a fight to start, because the teachers weren't there watching you, because obviously they'd get put in jail.
One of mine did actually.
Ooh. Yeah. But so that was like, it was nothing spectacular. I definitely got my head kicked in by one or two boys.
Jesus.
And then same sort of time frame, I guess. I was like, there's a play park next to my house that got built not long after I went to secondary school. I remember a couple of the bullies were there, and this was it. This was the time I was like, "What are you fucking saying?" Like, I was like high pitched, more high pitched than I am right now. Like, I stood up for myself, and they walked towards me, and I was like, "Oh no, what do I do?" So like the closer they got, I was like, "Oh, it's fight or flight, baby," like. So I just like threw some wild jabs, hit nothing, The aim was so off. Yeah. And like I just remember he fucking skulled me. He hit me so hard. I went down, and he gave me a couple of kicks in the stomach. And that was about it, like I think that they kind of knew that was that. What else are you going to do to a kid that's already on the ground?
Yeah, even doing the kicks is a fucking shitty thing to do, man. Anytime you see a guy go down or a woman go down, like, you're done. Like, two people fighting, one person goes down, you don't fucking kick them when they're down.
And I think from that moment, that's kind of when I had like the fighter's mentality, where I was always like, "Oh, I'll hit first all the time."
Yeah.
Like my next door neighbour, we used to be part of like a youth group when we were younger that my mum and dad were like on the board and stuff for, and basically like once a year they'd always have like, it's kind of like a budget meeting or like a training meeting, but what they would do is we would hire out like there's an old scout lodge out at Aberfoyle, I want to say. Right, okay. Aberfoyle, Aviemore, one of those two. Started with an A.
Over there somewhere.
Yeah, over there somewhere. So we'd go there, and it'd always be a good laugh. There'd always be like 40 people, and then all the kids. The parents would get like blazed at night. Like they'd just be like ripping it up, because it was like a holiday for them as well. So like during the day they would take us like trips out, and we'd always go, and it would either be like a country park or something, like, or we'd have activities to do that was always fun. So me and my next door neighbour, we were really good friends. And I don't know, he's a wind up, and he's always been a wind up, even to this day, still a wind up, and it's always, now I look back at it and I laugh, and like when I talk to him I still laugh, because it's just fun, but back then I was younger, sensitive, didn't like what he said a couple of times, so like I would just like, we just sat next to each other and I'd just be like, what, and I'd hit him, And then he was bigger than me. Still, he's like maybe a year or two older than me. And obviously, he would just tank me every time. And I'd be like, why do I keep doing this? Like, it's almost as if my brain was like, cool, I should just lash out and then no one will lash out at me.
Yeah.
Wee man syndrome is what I believe it's called.
You've properly just like completely explained wee man syndrome, especially that bit where you talked about being the big guy and then you were no longer the big guy. Like, that is fucking, you've actually fully just explained wee man syndrome.
So we're unpackaging my trauma again. Perfect. You started this conversation talking about you, and now all of a sudden this is Gary's therapy session once more.
Well, I'm just very good at asking questions. And also, I don't know, I've just not really done much as a child, I guess. Just kind of stayed in the house and played computer games. I mean, like, I've been like jumped and sucker punched and shit. The only time I've ever been involved in an altercation, every time has been to stop it from happening. Like, every time.
Right.
Going out and nights out and stuff, when you're a young lad, I was always the guy going out and just wanting to fucking dance and have a good time, and I wanted everyone else to have a good time when I was out. But there was like a couple of boys that I would go out with that, like, they would enjoy themselves until somebody said something wrong, especially with somebody they didn't know. They would say something and it would just turn into like the absolute red mist. Like, there's one boy in particular that I've not actually spoken to him in a while, and I think you actually might know him as well. He was like the kind of scariest when he turned. So there was like one guy in particular that he was quite. He's not short, but I mean, I've always kind of been a bit lanky. But anytime I could see, anytime I could see, like, the red mist start going over his eyes when we were out, it was that point where I would just have to like try and do what I can to just stand in his way, because I knew he was one of those guys that as soon as he starts, it's very difficult to stop him, because he was just fucking brute force. The dude was so fucking strong. But I started being able to like read him, so I knew when he was starting to get pissed off. I'm like, right, Mon, we'll go and get another drink. So that was me. I was the barrier between instigation and it turning into a full blown fight, because I didn't want to see any of my friends getting in a fight, man. Not even watching them get beat up. I didn't want to see them fighting somebody else. Like, no, like actual fighting and like any kind of violence, man. I get really anxious about it. Like, my heart goes fucking wild. My chest gets dead tight anytime I'm near it. Anytime I'm around it, I just hate seeing it. I'm not one for any kind of violence. Like, even when we're just like, it's been a couple of times where we've been out and something's kind of popped up. Like, there was when we were in, I think we were in Aberdeen. And one of the guys that came with us while we were playing a show in Aberdeen, and one of the guys that came with us was ripping on one of the boys. Well, he's not. Well, I mean, like, rainfalls aren't really a thing anymore, but he's not been in the band for a while, and he started ripping on him, and I could just see our mate's face fully fucking change, and I was just like,
you could feel the tension rising. Yeah,
I was like, this is the point where we actually see the fucking red rage come out of our mate. And I got so uncomfortable and anxious because I can't do confrontation. I'm not good at it at all.
Yeah, I think I definitely tried to ignore it and pass it all off as a joke. But looking back, it was definitely like, it was almost an attack on his character, you know, and you can understand why somebody would get annoyed.
Yeah. But like the person that instigated it, that was their thing, wasn't it? Like, that was that was like their shtick, was saying things to get a rise out of people. Like that.
Yeah, they were the cat among the pigeons, like, all the time.
Yeah.
That was just them. They were like, oh.
Yeah. They get to the point where they're just a bit like, right, that was funny when you were kind of making a comment, but now that you're like fully fucking attacking people with your words. Like, piss off. Away you go, man. Nobody needs that kind of fucking energy around here. Get. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You say that, but you'd been too scared to say it. Your hand would be shaking the entire
Yeah.
Oh no, man! Honestly, it's fine. Just you can hang out. It's fine.
I was like stuck right in the middle of it as well, because I was standing right next to the two of them, and I was just like, "Oh fuck, what do I do here?" Like, I can't do anything because I'm like frozen in fear. It's going to escalate to something worse. Like that's what happens to me is I fucking freeze up, or I just go, "Ha ha, cool!" Put my arm around one of them and start walking away.
Walking away.
Just don't want anything to happen, you know. Oh, I hate it, man. I absolutely hate it.
Yeah. No, it's not a fun time.
Conflict is not my thing, man. I'm glad that I'm glad that it's not really happened to me so far. Touch wood. There's not been many instances of it in my like adulthood. Yeah,
like
and it's about
it's
about the people around you, isn't it? It's the people you surround yourself with, like 90% of the time. Like, we have a pretty solid crew whenever we're out and about. Like, there's never somebody there that's gonna fucking start a fight.
No, and if there is, then usually it can be squashed before it gets to that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's just fucking, it makes me nervous even thinking about it. Like, I'm starting to clam up over here just thinking about people fighting. I hate it.
God damn it!
Absolutely hate it.
I thought I was the sensitive one.
Maybe we'll need to unpack that one then. So why is Craig so terrified of fighting?
Well, that's me going to write down some notes.
Yeah. Well, that's us made it to an hour, man.
Is that a podcast? Fucking cool.
That was a full hour of us just talking about fighting and not fighting because I don't like it. I don't really have much of a sign off this time. Like last week, we could kind of talk about some other things, but I guess we can do thank you for everyone that has checked out episode number 1. We hope you continue to check them out. This one will go up. We're recording this on Thursday, so again, we'll just keep them coming on a Tuesday. I think we'll try and maybe open up to questions and suggestions and stuff. Maybe open up a wee Twitter or something, and if people are interested in that, they can kind of ping us things to talk about. And if they want to send us, if you want to send us some advice questions, we'll give you advice that you can absolutely not take to the bank and shouldn't take seriously ever.
God,
yeah,
people listening to our terrible advice.
Like, neither of us have got anything together, so please ask us for advice so we can fuck up your life as well. That would be good.
If you want to end up like us, ask us for advice.
Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah, so just thank you everyone for listening. And if we have anything next week question wise or anything, then we will get round to it. But yeah, I don't really have anything. You get anything else you want to close off?
Nope.
All good. That was fucking super helpful. Nope.
Yep. Right.
Nope.
Well, I love you, man. I'll speak to you next week. Bye.